And good evening for the third time, and welcome to the Human Relations Commission, Thursday, April 17th at 6 o'clock, a regular HRC meeting. First, I just want to say welcome to a new commissioner, Commissioner Cal Fain. Thank you for applying and being appointed. I guess that wasn't your choice, but thank you for applying.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. So after that, I will go into roll call. I'm going to go through, first, I'll mark myself as here, Chair Layton, Vice Chair Harper. I'm going to go ahead and mark him as excuse if possible. For now, I know that there was a death and a loss in the community, and there might be some services going on right now, so he might be a little delayed in joining us. Commissioner House,
Present.
Commissioner Calfain,
Present.
Commissioner Myers. Absent. Do we have we been able to hear from Commissioner Myers today? Okay.
I thought it was, no, yes, we did. He had, saying that he would not be in. So
Okay.
yes, and he is excused.
Okay. Great. Thank you. And then Commissioner Monroe. Perfect. And we have quorum today. Awesome. So now we will move into the agenda approval. So this is a time where we can peek over the agenda and see if what things we want to remove, what things we want to add.
I wanted to make a motion to bring up the article from Commissioner Monroe about the affirmative action and the video that was shared, I believe, at the October meeting, 16-minute long video.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to add a discussion around the article from a November meeting potentially about Supreme Court strikes down affirmative action and a discussion around the 16-minute Thomas Sowell video. Is there a second for that agenda?
That would be me. Ain't nobody here. Where everybody at?
It's only one more person now because, we lost a few members.
We did lose a few members.
Yeah, so we can put this to rest.
Is that a second?
Second.
Okay.
This working?
Yes, we might have to just pull it up with the cord. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So now we'll go to a vote. All in favor of adding that to the agenda today? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will go ahead and add that to where should we add that to the agenda?
So at the
Hey,
end,
Justin, or Commissioner Vice Chair Harper.
that where should add it? I'm thinking at the end or wherever you choose to add it.
Okay, let's go ahead. This has been a topic, so let's go ahead and add that first. Discussion around that in old business. Okay. Right now, Vice Chair Harper, we are in the agenda approval. Our new Commissioner Calfain added an item around a discussion around an article and video from Commissioner Monroe, and that's the only agenda approval we've had so far, or item change.
Okay.
Is there any other agenda items that we would like to add or redact from today's agenda?
Not for me today.
All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and move into approving the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve from Vice Chair Harper. Any second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner House. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, we will mark that as approved and updated. Moving on to now approval of minutes. The first approval of minutes will be the February 20th, 2025 meeting. Reviewing those meeting minutes, or is there anything that folks would like to amend or change? no minute changes, we can go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the action minutes from February 20th.
Motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion to approve from Vice Chair Harper, a second.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Calfain. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will go ahead and mark the agenda or the minutes from February 20th as approved. Moving on to the next agenda item is the approval of minutes for the March 20th action meeting minutes. Or is there anyone in here who would like to make an amendment to those action minutes? I have an item I would like to share. One is, first question is, I would, just looking at the minutes, I first see that we have that Chair Layton, meeting canceled by Chair Layton, which is me. And I also see in that same paragraph that the clerk canceled the March meeting, and I know there was like a hiccup to some degree of not really knowing a lot of the processes. But the intention was to try to postpone for low attendance because we lost a lot of commissioners due to residency status. And then being told that we might be able to make up for it, and then it didn't end up working out, and we're here for the next regular meeting. When did including who canceled the meetings become part of the process? Lori, sorry.
I'm not sure how to answer this because you probably all received the email today about canceling meetings.
Yes.
Chair Layton was not actually allowed to cancel the meeting, so it's off already. So this is so for transparency of why it happened, because people are going to wonder why was that canceled with no reason, because we're not allowed to cancel. But it had to have been some kind of public discussion or something regarding that. And so the reasoning for complete transparency is given as an entirety.
Perfect. I really do appreciate the blurb. And I did get the email, and the email was helpful, and y'all acknowledged the hiccup of the clerk's office, which was helpful. I was just wondering, for the aspect of meeting canceled with the slash next to it with my name present, and given that that was something I was informed we could do, I was wondering if that could maybe be redacted to reflect the more accurate representation of what happened. Or if that's a standard process that we're going to be deploying, and if that's something that we're going to backlog for other meetings as well.
As I said, we're not canceling any more meetings going forward, and I don't recall any being before that either backwards. So I can't speak to that. I can't speak to any of that. You'd have to take that up with the clerk.
Okay.
I do just want to confirm. So if we know in advance that enough members will not be here, we can't cancel the meeting?
No.
Okay.
I sent a really detailed.
You did.
And yes, so no.
In your email, it specified that if folks directly respond and there's a collection of responses from the clerk's office that indicate that there will be a lack of quorum, then a cancellation can happen.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Which is like guaranteed, like
Right.
4 people have said it for sure. So then we already know. But if it's vague or you heard they weren't coming or anything like that, we have to start the meeting, see if they're here, give a reasonable time for them to show up. A motion can be passed saying, hey, let's go call them and see where they're at. Or go into a recess, giving some time, like, oh, they called on the cell phone, they're on their way, so that people can get here and adjourn. Or do
Okay.
it adjourning time. Okay, we're going to give it 15 minutes and then we're going to adjourn.
Okay.
I
So,
got a question.
yes.
Does that mean too also if they're on Zoom?
Yeah, you know what, and let me explain something further about why the cancellation. Kind of caught me off guard. So you all at your annual meeting adopted a motion for the schedule. You all had a say in it. So that's why no one can cancel it. It's already out there.
Mhm.
All you can do is show up. There's not a quorum, but that meeting is counted. That meeting is not canceled, right? And so it shouldn't be canceled. It should come to here. unless there's a good, really good reason, which is what they said was exceptional circumstance. So does that?
Yes, so that makes a lot of sense, and I do believe I understand all of that.
And I will say on Chair Layton's behalf that she reached out asking for clarity around this. The clerk, the job previously, they didn't have boards and commissions in the clerk's office. It was in a different office. And I wasn't here. I didn't realize that that had happened. And so I've tried to really be thorough in
Mhm.
my response to everyone, so you really know where that came from and why we're doing it, and that we could do it correctly in the future. So everybody's
Yes, I do appreciate that. That was a very helpful outline of what to do. I just still am thinking about, for the sake of transparency and also like just overall accountability, on March 19th, I did email asking, is it possible to cancel or inquire if commissioners would be okay with that? To which I was suggested that a cancellation would be possible from the clerk. To which I was asking, okay, well then in that case, can we postpone instead of that and find another opportunity? But the next thing you know, I saw that it was canceled by Chair Layton. And that was confusing for me because it wasn't really an indication that I was wanting to do that, but this is how it sounds that I wanted to do that, where I was just only inquiring.
Yeah.
So is that possible to change that wordage right there where it says meeting canceled / Chair Layton?
Do you want that just though that capped out?
Yes.
But the rest of it you're fine with?
Yes, I think the
Yeah.
blurb makes a lot of sense for transparency as far as like letting people know what happened in the snafu. I think that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, and I just would like, so everybody is realizing about, while the Open Meetings Act, we don't have to do it by ordinance, we do it because the city requires it of us, but we are still under the Freedom of Information Act, and everything you guys send is recorded and kept. So there's nothing private. And in that stream of conversation, I reread it. In the beginning, you spoke about canceling. And so it could be conceived, but I still agree that there's no problem removing that because
Okay.
the base of what is there says what happened.
Okay.
And there was something else about that I wanted to. And then same thing with the postpone. You cannot postpone a meeting.
Yep, we read that part
Okay.
too.
And so that was like, so there's a lot of words in there that kind of sound like they're similar, but there really wasn't a way to do those things.
The outline you provided today was really helpful as far as like
I
moving
appreciate that.
forward.
I really tried to put it together and I know it's a lot of stuff and I know it's hard to read and nobody wants to do it. And even when if you ever are reading my things, if you start the first sentence of every paragraph, like I really it's really bullet point and I add. And so you could read it quickly, not have to read everything if you didn't want to.
Thank you. So then would we need a motion to be able to formally remove that ideally for you?
Unless there's a friendly amendment to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, motion or amend.
A friendly amendment to
And everyone agrees?
a second and all in favors?
Second.
Okay, all in favors?
Okay.
All right. Any nays? All right, so we made a friendly amendment to that part. And then also in the March 20th minutes, I noted and saw a part under old business item B. The note part that says the article was not brought forth by Commissioner Monroe at November 14th meeting, nor part of any prior agenda and not previously discussed. I'm curious where that came from or the logic or reasoning behind that note, because I don't think that that accurately depicts what happened here. So I'm not sure if that was made by the deputy clerk or clerk's office, that note, but I just wanted to ask before
That is from the city attorney.
this part.
Yes.
Did they specify why specifically at all?
For transparency again.
Okay. So then maybe it might be accurate to make an amendment to that for more transparency that says the article was not brought forth by Commissioner Monroe formally as part of the meeting agenda, but that it was brought forth as part of a discussion item to like informally. I'm not sure how we can word that, but that's the whole reason why we've been wanting to have discussion around it. And this implies that Commissioner Monroe never brought it forward and we're just
Right.
making it up.
I don't believe that you guys can do that, but I think what I could have done, and now that I'm looking at it, I could have put it underneath so that it's from the clerk's office and I can write clerk's office ... and write the note. So it's separated out and realizing that we're putting a note in there of our observations.
So this is the opinion of your opinion that it was informal? Okay, so it's up to us whether,
And the attorney, because they reviewed the videos of it, of that, the situation that was going on with that. Because as far as our understanding, Commissioner Monroe never brought it she handed to the tables, right?
she brought it to the meeting and it's a relevant point to discuss. It doesn't matter if it was formal or not.
Yes, it does. And it wasn't before we called it to order. Like, she handed it out and there was never no discussion on it. It was never brought.
It was brought
formally
physically
to the meeting.
in front of everyone to discuss.
And when we
I have to
attempted to
disagree.
discuss.
I
Well, it's not a matter of disagreeing. It was physically brought into the space to show each of the people here.
yeah, that would just, I know that's your perception. And
It's not a perception, it physically happened.
I'm
Because you said
gonna-
you reviewed the
can have a
videos.
different perception of it, right? I mean, we
Nobody
all,
was even here.
I'm gonna pause for a moment because we have a comment from Commissioner House who's had her hand raised, and then I saw Councilmember King also have her hand raised. So go ahead, Councilmember.
I believe in that meeting, I did bring it forth as a discussion and asked what it was.
You did.
We
You
were
did.
Still under, in the
but the
meeting.
comment doesn't say that. This says the article was not brought forth by Commissioner Monroe at the November 14th, 2024 meeting, nor part of any prior agenda and not previously discussed. It's talking just about that she wasn't the one that brought this forward. Y'all can still have it, but you're mentioning her name as though she's the one that brought it forth to the agenda, and she did. And that's just the purpose of the blurb. It's that you're wanting to bring it forth, you want to talk about it, but she didn't bring it forth.
So she brought it physically, okay. And then you brought it up, so it could be phrased that Juanita brought it to attention, given that she physically brought these items into the space.
Still,
Is that what you're-
it was still not part of any agenda.
I think we're getting into a little bit of back and forth that I want Councilmember King to have something to say.
And it was a little while ago, so I don't 100% remember. But did we get it in the email prior to the meeting or no?
I don't believe so.
Okay, but when stuff is brought to the table for us at council, it is included in the agenda.
Typically,
Right.
Exactly. It wasn't brought.
So what I would like to add into this, and I know that our liaisons are here as like support, so I appreciate that. And what I would just like to say is, at the November meeting, it was not brought forth as an agenda item. That is correct. It was not submitted the Thursday before the Friday meeting deadline. That is correct. However, at the November meeting, it was brought forward informally and dropped off at each one of our stations. And so whenever we attempted to ask, after clarifying with the clerk, when this is brought forward, does this reflect in the minutes? And the clerk said no until someone brings it up. And in that meeting, we had 2 commissioners attempt to try to bring it up for discussion, to which the commissioner who brought it forward stood up and decided to walk away, to leave. At that point, there's no discussion that can be had whenever the commissioner who brings it forward to have a discussion with leaves. So the next meeting, we don't have one. And then January, we try to have one. We do have one. And when we ask about it, we were told we don't remember the name of the title. So I bring it forward in February, which it was removed. And now we were in March, and now we're in April. So this blurred makes it seem like we're just making this up. This is coming from nowhere. But in reality,
You're making such a big deal out of nothing. It was for your information. Aren't you interested what the Supreme Court is saying? I thought you might be. I don't know.
So you're
what-
saying it was for our information, to
Maybe you didn't know.
consult
this.
us. So why wouldn't we bring it up?
I didn't, well, why are you making it a federal case?
Not a federal case. I'm just asking you a question.
We're not going to engage the public audience right now. Councilmember Keen, you had your hand raised.
No, I'm just saying if it was brought to the table, I think as the clerk just stated, everything is public information. So if it's brought to the table, everything is required to be somewhere. And I think, no, I do think this probably should come out under B. Because it does make it seem like it was not brought by her, because if it was not brought, who brought it? Because,
Chair Layton, you were saying that anything that's brought to you is in your packet. It was never given to the clerk's office. It was given to the clerk's office by Chair Layton. We never received it. We didn't know about it. It was given to your station.
That is
And-
actually not true, and I have to stand firm on that because that is factually inaccurate. We had clerk,
This is my understanding.
and that's okay. You weren't here for that November meeting, and I understand that, but
I never
clerk,
received it.
the
It
clerk
was
was
given out
here. That is not my problem. The clerk
I'm
was
saying
here,
it
so
was
the
not
clerk's job should have been to collect the information that was given to us because it was given to all of us, including the clerk. And the clerk said the moment that someone brings it into the microphone that day is when it will be reflected in the minutes, which we attempted to do, and she left. So in that statement, this is not accurate. This blurb is not accurate. This is not a fully transparent blurb. And I love transparency.
For it say.
I would love to ask the fellow commissioners that. What feels like a more accurate way of writing that blurb? Because I love that the viewing or perspective is that this is brought by me, and that's something that I've heard a few times now. But I'm not speaking on behalf of only myself. I'm speaking with my other commissioners who have asked multiple times to hear why this was brought forward and also that video, which we're now going to be able to hopefully get into in old business today. But this blurb isn't accurate. And so what do other people think would be a more accurate depiction of this situation?
I would say just cross out this note completely, everything that is in the parentheses, because it says discussion on an opinion analysis article distributed to HRC commissioners by Commissioner Monroe at the November 14th, 24 meeting. Seems like an accurate portrayal of what occurred. The note seems unnecessary.
So I had to tune out for a second to give some advice on the page number. You said to strike out the whole thing. I apologize.
No, just like everything in the parentheses, so where it starts at note and ends at discussed.
Oh, okay. So the whole note.
Yeah, like the prior sentence makes sense. It says what accurately happened.
Okay. And I feel like that should be possible, but I know that the attorney is the one who wrote this note.
Yeah, I mean, this is a clerk note. This isn't a note it's a clerk note.
So how do we make suggestions to you to change the clerk
Yeah,
note?
Because, I mean, I feel like it's so accurate that that's the problem I'm having understanding, because it says discussion on opinion analysis article distributed to the HR commissioners by Commissioner Monroe at the November 14th meeting, which I all think.
I wrote that, right? I
Right.
wrote that out. Yep.
Right. And
Yep,
then
the one-
article
the
was
part
not
y'all
brought
wrote.
forth. It was not brought forth by Commissioner Monroe at the November 24th meeting. Why don't we just put a period right there?
But it was brought forth. That's the point, is that she brought it forward in the meeting.
How could she have brought it forward if she never actually spoke? If it was distributed and she never actually said, I'm bringing this forward, even if it was second, she never actually brought it forward is what I'm saying.
Well, doesn't it seem that if, Commissioner Monroe just wanted us to know this, that she
No,
could
it's
have
literally-
texted us
It's
or
literally on the
emailed
record.
us?
I'm
Why
bringing
did she
this
bring it
forward.
into the physical space?
Yeah.
This is an open question to me.
I didn't hear you because.
Yeah, I was just saying, like,
Going on.
Commissioner Monroe just wanted us to know, which is a fair thing to do. She should have emailed us, called us, sent us the article. Why did she choose to bring it physically into the space on the day of the meeting?
When we get to the point, I guess that would be coming up.
So maybe a suggestion could be, instead of striking out the whole transparency attempt note, maybe it could say the article was not brought forth formally by Commissioner Monroe at the November meeting as part of an agenda item. but was brought forward as a discussion item.
But it wasn't.
As you know, whatever she just said, I can't recall the exact verbiage right
For
now.
your information.
For your information, thank you. Councilmember King.
So the only thing I was gonna say is, again, in council meetings, we have items that are brought to the table. And even if they are at the table, the mayor would say, this item is at your table. So that then is also bringing it into the record. And it sounds like it's being said that's what Kat did. So I think that maybe this should come off, or we should go back to the attorney if he chose to alter this.
I agree, because he wasn't here. I understand that she
The difference-
formally,
Wait 1 second.
Yeah, I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
please.
understand that she formally didn't bring it. I understand it was placed at each one of our stations. But I remember myself picking it up and saying, what is this? And they said it was brought forth by Commissioner Monroe. And so then I'm like, are we gonna discuss this? I remember this clearly. And we've been battling this ever since. I want to put this to bed, but we got to, we can't, however people write these things, they can't keep writing them like we're not telling the truth,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it appears to be. And because then won't nobody have no faith in us. And we are telling the truth. And because my memory doesn't fail me, I remember bringing it up as a discussion. So maybe it wasn't brought the proper way or formally. I don't think that the attorney should even chime in on this at this point. And I say we just strike, like she said, Commissioner
Calfane.
Fan, everything in the parentheses.
All right, so I have a motion from Commissioner Calfane and what appears to be a second from Commissioner House to strike the entirety of the note in parentheses from note to discussed.
Please get the second. Can you just second it?
Second.
All right, and so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and mark that as approved. And now, still in the meeting agenda or meeting minutes approval for March 20th, is there anything else that folks see they would like to amend? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and approve the entirety of the minutes from March 20th as amended now. So do I have a motion to approve the amended minutes from March 20th?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Harper. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Calfane. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will move on to public comment. So public comment, I guess, is now having city council's public comment rules apply to us. So we have 45 minutes total, which I don't foresee that being a problem here. And each person gets 3 minutes to speak. And should we use all of the 45 minutes of that public comment, we will have a second public comment in the end. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to leave a public comment? All right. Is there anyone online who would like to make a public comment?
No, there is not.
Okay, not having any public comments, we will go ahead and close public comment opportunity. Okay, now we will move on to the old business, which we have added discussion around the article distributed by Commissioner Monroe. Again, that was Supreme Court strikes down affirmative action programs in college admissions, opinion analysis by Amy Howe. So, yes, I think we would just like to hear more about when you brought forward that article, for your information, you were hoping us to gain.
It's the Supreme Court ruling. I thought you'd be interested. Believe me, I'll never bring up anything like that again. It's ridiculous. You waste time, money on attorneys, and I just don't see the point in it. And I'm not going to go over this for the rest of my life. It's done.
If I can, I just want to say it's not an attack. It's just if it is for the commissioner's information, I don't know what the big issue is if it's officially on the record, because it's not an attack. It's not.
Well, I already told you multiple times, it's for your information. Take it or leave it. That's not my problem.
Well, I mean, can I speak?
Yes, please.
You got an attitude, I'm sorry. Because
Maybe I do.
ooh. Okay.
Well, this is on the agenda, off the agenda,
Oh.
on the agenda. I mean,
So the thing is that if I was to bring something, slap it on the table for the commissioner's information, then I
think it
have,
was such a,
One moment, please. Let's let Vice or Commissioner.
then I have
I'll
to be willing to explain what I'm doing, the reason why I'm doing it. That's
I
all.
already told you.
Commissioner Monroe, call of order.
That's all I think anybody is asking, so we can move on from this. There's no reason to get defensive. It's just, if you didn't, if you don't know why you put it there, say that. If you made a mistake, say that too. But don't just say, oh, it ain't nothing. You need to, don't pay attention to it. And I got an attitude and I'm gonna keep an attitude. That's not how we supposed to work. We supposed to be working together and we supposed to be adult-like. So I wouldn't bring anything to the table that I wouldn't be willing to talk about.
I already gave you the answer and you don't like it.
I haven't got an answer. I'm just gonna tell you, the answer I got was.
Yes, call of order real fast. We're having a back and forth and I'm hearing it. And the point of what I'm trying to circulate around is what I hear Vice Chair, or excuse me, that was just 3 months ago.
Call of order. Each person's supposed to have an opportunity to speak.
Yes,
Let's allow.
let her too. Okay,
finish.
thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner House.
I forgot what I was saying.
You were saying if you were to bring forward and slap an article on the table is the last thing.
I would be willing to explain what it is, whether, for whatever purposes it was. And then we can move on. I think I already said this. I was saying something else, but I forgot. I don't want a back and forth. We're supposed to be working together. And we don't need a back and forth. We just need to figure out what, why, when, how, or not, and then move on.
Okay, and now Commissioner Monroe and then Commissioner or Vice Chair Harper wanted to speak.
I already said what I needed to say.
Okay, Vice Chair?
I wanted to ask, did we even have a discussion here about affirmative action? I
No,
don't remember.
no.
Okay. Okay, noted. Thank you.
So I would like to say something because I do hear a little bit of defensiveness, which I can understand how this might feel jarring because yes, we have attempted to have this discussion a few times. And yes, I agree, it is a waste of taxpayers' monies to try to have a discussion around this as many times as we had. And unfortunately, a lot of that was out of our own control because we had attempted at the November meeting, to which you left. We attempted at the January meeting, to which we were told, we don't remember the name of the article. When I attempted to find the article name and bring it forward in February, it was removed without discussion from the clerk's office. When I had a private meeting with the clerk's office, it was discussed that what is the point of this because commissioners aren't interested and we need to lay this to rest, but that was not true. And I corrected that, which commissioners are clearly interested. And so I see your hand. The main thing is that there's there's very large gaps and very potential issues in the limitations of this. There's some instances, and I've read the article that summarizes Robert's invocation of colorblind constitutionalism, but doesn't interrogate that framework. And so it's very, very, very important, especially as people on this commission whose purpose is to believe that racism is real, whose purpose is to believe that discrimination is real and discrimination still happens. And I remember one meeting when you were first, appointed, where we had a back and forth discussion with the fellow commissioner who had experienced discrimination for her returning citizen status. And you were saying how that never happened to you as a landlord, which I appreciate. That's amazing that you don't discriminate against people with felony records. I love that, and I'm so appreciative of that. However, this article, in addition to the video that we didn't end up watching and we ended up removing from the minutes because we didn't end up having it on the agenda to be approved, both of those videos offer kind of the same themes, which is that social justice isn't real, that people become dependents on systems, and that colorblindness is a thing, but that ignores structural racism, and that ignores institutional systemic oppression. And we have in our bylaws, a purpose is to eradicate that from this city. So as much as I appreciate diversity of tactics, as much as I appreciate diversity of approaches and diversity of ideologies, but having diversity of ideologies and beliefs that contradict the mission of this commission, which kind of feel like it with some of these things bringing forth, that causes a concern because it does waste the taxpayers' money that we have to have 4 different meetings to attempt to even have this conversation. Vice Chair?
I think you kind of touched on it already. I was more interested with the link also as far as what that was representing, what the message was in that, and what we were supposed to gain from it. So yeah, I was curious about the link as well.
The 16-minute video?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would also say to me, it feels like a waste of tax dollars to bring an article or video up that directly attacks and targets the mission of the commission. So if the mission of the commission is to, address structural racism, to address equity, and the video and the article directly attack that those things aren't worth doing, aren't even real issues, that feels like a waste of time to discuss, and I would wonder why it was brought up.
For your information, the article provided a pretty solid summary of the case. However, it leans towards more formalism of legal, and it doesn't fully critique this broader racial, political, and social implications of the ruling. And so people who read this article without a legal background or a deep knowledge and understanding of affirmative action, which benefited white women more than any other population or demographic, that debate could cause people to walk away with a misunderstanding of what it actually is, because this article didn't provide in-depth conversation around it, and there was implication for race-neutral policies, which is very underdeveloped and inappropriate. So I wanted to circle back to what I heard Vice Chair Harper say, which was the video. And I know that we just discussed the article just now, and we heard it was for your information. I think we can maybe lay that to rest. What about the video and what your intentions were of having us watch that? Was there anything that you wanted us to note in particular in that video? And I do want to just say that that was after Commissioner Myers had asked what the difference between equity and equality was, which was a really great teachable moment. So we added a short video to the next agenda, and that's when a 16-minute video is also updated, uploaded or added, that contradicted the equality versus equity video that we had put. So we would like to know more about that as well.
It's a different opinion. That's all. I thought you wanted different.
Yeah, I could do mine. Why did you feel like it was important for us to have those different opinions? I think I'm just trying to, yeah.
Point of order.
Point of order, we have Vice,
Take a turn. It's not back before, you need to like, so that, let him go ahead and finish, whoever wants to speak.
Vice Chair Harper was speaking, and then we will go to Commissioner Monroe again.
And I'm just generally I want to know, and I don't want you to feel like I'm attacking, but I feel like it's important to understand. So yeah, just again to the core of why that was brought, um, and what did you take from it?
It's a different opinion.
I understand that. What did you take from it? I'm asking.
That's what I took from it. It's a different opinion than I hear around here. It's just a different opinion. I thought you were.
I'll just asking.
Commissioner Calfain?
Yeah, I think we do value different opinions here. My question is with the video is that it's questioning the understanding of the existence and structural what is equity. It was saying that the understanding of equity is flawed, is not something we should value and we should disregard it. And so the mission of this, panel, this commission is to advance equity. The video is directly targeting that idea in its entirety. Whereas, yes, we have different opinions about how to advance equity, right? So if I'm like, I think we should advance equity by starting this program in this area of IPSI, and someone on the commission says, no, I don't think that will advance equity, but if we do it in this different way, or if we don't do it at all, we do something else, those are different opinions. Or who should we go first with addressing equity? Like people who are in poverty, different ethnic groups. That's what we're here for, to have debate over equity, not to question the existence and the veracity of the idea of equity, which is what the video was doing.
Thank you. I also just want to say I did attempt again to ask in an email before having a public discussion around this, just to put that into transparency since we all value that here. I did on October 15th of last year email Commissioner Monroe asking if we would be able to have a conversation about this video, noting that I had some concerns and just wanted to see where you were coming from and how you thought that aligned with the mission of our commission. And again, Article 2, Section 1 of the commission's bylaws state that the commission shall serve as an advisory body to the city council and shall study problems in the city relating to prejudice and discrimination, and make policy recommendations to the city council to identify and remove discriminatory structures and practices, and act to remediate the legacy of historical oppression. That is in our bylaws. So I think Commissioner Calfain said it very well with diversity of opinions or tactics is amazing, but if it's questioning the entire purpose of equity, of it being real or a concept, that could be concerning, knowing that what I just read from our bylaws. Commissioner Monroe, do you have any other items you want us to listen to around this discussion? Is there anyone else who would like to say anything? Commissioner House?
Clearly, this is getting nowhere because we can't get a reasoning for why this was done. It's alarming. It's kind of questioning. I know Commissioner Monroe took an oath, but is that oath clearly valued in her opinion? As far as equity, discrimination, racism, legacy. That's the point that's kind of scary. Because we have no idea because she won't answer any questions. So I don't know how far this is gonna keep going,
Right.
but hopefully everybody on this board is serving for the right purpose. And everybody on this commission is really trying to look into systematic racism, look into discrimination and the very different aspects in the city of Ypsilanti to make the city of Ypsilanti a better place. All I have.
Thank you, Commissioner House. I would like to just add, again, as transparency, in our bylaws, the city clerk, the clerk office has the ability to recommend commissioners be removed from the commission to city council for a vote. And also I am aware that that is in the bylaws or in the ordinance. I read that just the other day. And also, that we have the ability to request the resolution to council if that's something that the commission wants to think about or ponder and request in the future or currently. Just wanted to put that out there of doing my due diligence of what's possible.
I want to be clear, you cannot vote off anyone.
We know that. We know
Council-
that. We know
council
that.
can Vote off,
Correct.
but nobody here can.
Yes, correct. I did not say that. So did we hear me correctly? That we would not be able to vote off anyone. Clerk office has the ability to recommend a removal, and council members have the ability to formally remove. The only power the commissioners have are the ability to remove positions, officers, through a supermajority vote. But you don't remove the officer from the commission, you remove them just from the office. Anyone would like to add to this discussion item before we move on? Okay. We will go ahead and carry on. So the next thing is the complaint tracking system. I see this as just like a standing item, so we can just get like updates from the city attorney should there be anything that does come through. Not necessarily a discussion around the complaint tracking system constantly, but just more of like a standing item. Should there be anything added to that tracking system, we can just know about it.
I did have like a clarifying question. Is this appropriate?
Please,
to
yeah.
ask that? So I was reading the email, and if this is something I should just ask the attorney myself, I can do that. But in point D, he says that after sufficient review and determination, the city attorney shall issue a written opinion to the Human Relations Commission whether probable cause exists to believe a discriminatory practice or practices occurred as alleged by the complainant. So I was just wondering, like, what are the what is the probable cause? Like, what are the points that need to be brought up for him to have probable cause? Is that like relating to the city charter, or could we have like an outline of that, or what should I reference to understand what the probable cause is?
Deputy Clerk, do you know that answer?
You would have to reach out to whatever department has that information.
Okay.
So that would be the city attorney's office.
City manager, city attorney.
Okay.
So would we need to have Commissioner Calfain make a motion to request that information, since that seems to be the standard process here?
So you're wanting an attorney opinion? Is that what you're saying?
Well, can I just personally like email him to get this information, or do I need to go through like, making a motion to?
He says we have to do something different, but yes, I think that would be.
Okay.
It might save us time to go ahead and make the formal opinion request since we've learned our lesson here a little
Sure.
bit to do that ahead of time, so we just don't do the back and forth.
Yes. Okay, so I wanted to make a motion to get information on what definition is used to define like whether probable cause exists in relation to the discrimination complaint tracking system.
I second that motion.
Okay. You have a motion and a second. Do we have any support? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, we have formally requested that opinion on that. Okay, did we get any updates or numbers to the complaint tracking system? Did anyone put in a complaint? Deputy Clerk, did anyone put in a complaint?
You, it's in the letter that he provided. I don't know, whatever he
Oh,
provided.
okay.
It's there.
Okay, not received any complaints as of February 18th. Okay, so we could have gotten some within the last few months, potentially. And again, just so everyone knows, the way you can file a complaint is on the city website. It is now available. There is a actual link form that you can complete, but it still doesn't take you to a form. It still downloads a document. But I think we do also have a online submission forms area that people can find that way as well. How do we direct people to that part where the online forms are? Because I know on the actual website, it's for HRC board, it just has the paper version. So where can people access like the digital version to file a complaint?
I don't believe I don't know of the capabilities of doing that. I would have no idea. Again, probably someone could, from the commissions can contact to the communication manager to see. I don't know.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, other commissioners, but last meeting I thought we said that that was going to be a form that you could easily update, but now I need to go to the communications team.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. That was the only thing. I'm not the internet person. The only form is that form. That's the only thing is, and I added it to your guys' website as y'all requested. That's the form that's available here. There's no other form. So it's not like I'm just not, that is it. I took it from the form center on the city website and I put it onto on your page. But that is all there is.
Right, yeah, it's only the paper version. There's not a digital access. And what we're saying is we thought there would be a digital access, and now we're being told that there can be, but I just need to reach out.
I don't know if there can be.
Possibly could be, I need to reach out.
Department, I have no idea.
I'm glad we're clarifying it right now. So I can take on that. I just wanted to clarify. Okie dokie. Is there anything else on discrimination complaint tracking system for folks? All right, we can go ahead and move on. I was just looking at the form center and it is not in the form center. All right. All right, moving on. Discussion on Washtenaw County's public safety and mental health preservation millage to create local restrictions on fund use for mental health and non-traditional forms of public safety. This was a resolution that I was able to draft up and in hopes of having a discussion around it. If anyone had any language changes they would like to make to it, that would be awesome. Thank you. Here you go. I cannot read this right now. What is this?
This is exempt from disclosure. It's a message you all received on January 21st, 2025 regarding the millage you're about to talk about.
Okay,
I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It's so the attorney's opinion about it is the very last paragraph.
Yes,
and it
okay.
Cannot be disclosed. It is
Mhm.
exempt since it is an attorney, it's private.
Yes, we have learned about that since. Okay, cool. So, the resolution, it starts on page 10 in the agenda packet for folks. So I can give a little bit of the logic behind this, and then we can go into discussion. So the city of Ypsilanti, because we have a law enforcement department, Department of Public Safety, we receive millage reimbursement money from the county's public safety and mental health millage. The millage reimbursement funds, when they were first discussed by council in 2018 or 2017, there was a lot of interest in helping and boost up parks. And so since then, we've had a lot of changes in our community needs. And so the spirit of this is to ask that council, and I know that then here I need to change some language where it sounds more demanding instead it be more request language. So the spirit is to request that council try to provide some form of local like allocations to where percentages of each of the millage reimbursement money goes towards things that will actually address the root issue of our safety concerns in our community. So this resolution kind of details how much money the city has earned since fiscal year 2018, 2019, which is approximately over $2.4 million. The Public Safety Fund is the fund that the millage reimbursement money goes into. That is a special revenue fund, which technically is a restricted fund and not allowed to fund debt service or capital improvement projects, even though that is what the fund has done for a few years historically. We also talk about how Black residents in Washtenaw County are disproportionately impacted by the criminal legal system, being 5 times more likely to be arrested, 3 times more likely to die from an overdose, and compromising over 50% of those experiencing houselessness, despite only making up 12% of the county's population. And that since the City of Ypsi Council passed 2 resolutions this year, which was awesome. One of them was asking the county for some funds for an unarmed crisis response program. And the other one was requesting that they help the county help City of Ypsi establish a permanent shelter in the city, or consider a permanent shelter in the city. And so this resolution is asking, in addition to those really great things, can you please also ask for and set some guidelines or restrictions on what these funds can be used on? For example, a percentage goes towards housing support, a percentage goes towards harm reduction support, a percentage goes towards mental health support, whatever it is. That's what the spirit of this resolution was asking for. Any thoughts on it?
How did you, okay, so the millage allocates 38%. So this is what it does currently
Correct. And historically.
and historically, okay. That was just my question.
I think it's a good idea.
Awesome. I think so too. Just, I know that some of the questions we had asked in a legal memo around like some of the requirements, restrictions, limitations of this fund. And I owe our attorney an email response back. But also the logic behind and how this fits within our scope is the city of Ypsilanti has a huge need for services. We have a $41,000 area median income for one single adult, whereas in the county it's $82,000 area median income. So that's half of what the county is. And affordable housing projects use the county's area median income. And so even though a local Ypsi resident couldn't afford what's considered affordable for the whole county, those are the people who will be prioritized. Just given, that's just to portray the hardships that local Ypsilantians are having in our community when it comes to service provision. So even though we are the most at need when it comes to services, we receive the least in services. And that also, I can speak about that just professionally, working in social services in this county for a while. A lot of folks have to go to Ann Arbor to get their needs met, which is can pose a huge issue for folks with transportation issues. So I did mention where in our ordinance how this relates to scope. And so I believe that section 58-35 that says we serve in as advisory body to study discrimination, to promote equity and mutual understanding, to make recommendations, kind of summarizes that a bit, knowing that what we said about the service provision lack of, the racial and, economic demographics of Ypsilanti, that this would make sense. Did you have your hand up, Vice Chair?
Nah, I
Ah,
did.
darn it, my peripherals. Commissioner Calpain.
I just had a suggestion. I think so though the be it further resolved.
Okay.
I'm wondering if the supporting the unhoused population part can be a little bit more specific. Because I could see that being kind of really more open when the resolution is being put forward because we want to be highly specific. Just an open suggestion of permanent housing, shelter, drug abuse rehabilitation programs, things like that. It's just a suggestion. But overall,
Yeah, would you like to make a suggestion on what it could say? And you're talking about the third paragraph from the down, right? From down,
be
okay.
it further resolved that human relations.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, point of order. You have the discussion and then you're going to have to vote on whether or not you want to do a resolution first and second, because we never did vote on whether we even wanted to do a resolution, and then we could do the amendments.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, okay.
great. Cool. So then, looking at it as is, do we have a motion to approve?
No, I'm
Or-
sorry. It's just to have a resolution, and then it's going to be, you're going to do whatever you're going to do with it, but it's the, even, can we do it? Everyone agreed that we're like that?
A motion
Okay.
for a resolution.
A motion from Vice Chair Harper and do I have a second?
Second,
A second from Commissioner Calfain. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay. Now we can discuss, and we heard Commissioner Calfain offer a suggestion, and you were about to provide us a possible amendment language change.
yes, is this the time to do that now? Okay. So I would say unarmed crisis response program, drug abuse rehabilitation services, shelter and permanent housing support.
Shelter and permanent supportive housing
Yeah,
support.
sometimes it's phrases like PSH. Yeah.
I would like to just make a friendly amendment to that suggestion. You mentioned drug abuse, right? I would probably say instead of that, harm reduction services for people who use drugs.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Not just drugs, substances.
Or people who use substances. Thank you. So the amendment or the suggested amendment on the discussed right now is, be it further resolved that the Human Relations Commission recommends that these funds be allocated towards implementing an unarmed crisis response program, harm reduction services for people who use substances, supporting shelter and permanent supportive housing, and expanding community-based mental health services in alignment with the original intent and spirit of the millage. All right, do I have a motion to approve that or to make that amendment?
Motion to approve.
Make it.
Sorry, to make that amendment.
Awesome. Sorry, I messed that word up. All right, I have a motion to make that amendment. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second?
That's what I was just gonna say. I think it needs to be a friendly between both of them since they
Okay.
brought it. Yeah.
Second.
All right, cool. So now we can say all in favor to that amendment for that paragraph. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Also, I do need to make an amendment. I received an email from Clerk Bedora talking about revising the paragraph that says, "Be it further resolved." Um, where it says, okay, I see it. So I need to change the wording. It's the fourth paragraph from the bottom up where it says, "Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Ypsilanti Human Relation Commission," instead of the word urges, I would like to say advises the council to enact local restrictions. So I would like to make a suggestion that someone can make a motion to change the word urges to advises.
Motion to advise.
Motion to make the word urges to advise. All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And any in favor?
Yes.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, we have that paragraph changed as well. Is there any other things that folks have seen that they would like to remove, add, move around? All right, Councilmember King, just as a inquiry, is there anything that you see in here that council may want further explanation on potentially, or anything that we can do to kind of help portray the importance of this?
No, I think it looks fine. And I know at the council table, if changes will be made by council, we will do it just as you just did.
Okay, okay. And then Commissioner Monroe,
What do you mean by harm reduction?
what do I mean by harm
Yeah,
reduction?
services?
That's a great question. So the principles of harm reduction are based in liberation, empathy, compassion, and meeting people where they're at in their journey to recovery. And so it kind of embodies the fact that there's a stages of change for people who use drugs. Contemplation, pre-contemplation, and so it's providing people safe use kits, having clean needle exchanges, being able to provide people services, meeting them where they're at and their point of recovery. So that way people are not spreading diseases or dying. The city of Ypsi actually has the highest rate of fatal opioid overdoses in the whole county. I believe it's second in Southeast Michigan to Detroit. And a lot of it is happening actually in the downtown area. Surprising. So being able to support harm reduction services would be able to provide Narcan and other supplies to folks to, again, meet them where they're at, but it's also wraparound services. A lot of harm reduction agencies provide case management to people. So that's like weekly follow-ups, being able to help make sure people are going to their appointments, connecting them to services, those sorts of things.
Ever?
No, that is not part of harm reduction. That is actually a very big misconception. I appreciate you asking that. Any other questions or thoughts? Okay, so I guess we can go into voting it as completely approved as is, or we're good on that?
You were going to make the changes, you would submit it, it'd be come in as old business next time, and then they would approve it then.
Okay. All right, so now we can move on. Next is discussion of the City Council of Ypsilanti's failure to act on pressing issues impacting marginalized communities. So this was a resolution that we were calling inaction is discriminatory. I know that that was something a community member had asked our commission to consider. Our commission was interested in that. I put forth some language that you can see on page 13 that kind of goes into that. But again, I'm not an attorney. I'm a volunteer on this commission. So if there's anything that could be better or changed or amended. But first we need a vote if we want to consider this resolution.
First discuss.
Yes, first discuss it. So do I have a motion?
Yeah, motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Vice Chair Harper. Do I have a second?
I'd second.
A second from Commissioner Calfain. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, we will go into discussing. So again, the thought behind this resolution was again brought forth from a community member. And it kind of just goes into a detail of what the HRC is tasked to do, starting with the first paragraph, that we recognize that prejudice exists. And we recognize that prejudice is a concern in the city. And then we say that we recognize that the Human Relations Ordinance mandates that we in council proactively address discrimination through patterns of observation of action or non-action that causes social tensions, disparities, or harm, as outlined in section 58-36. And then the following paragraph kind of goes into some things historically that have happened in city council that hasn't really put forth the marginalized community at the forefront of the topic, and therefore has failed to act on those pressing issues. And so one of those was the removal of the Planning Commission Subcommittee for Housing Affordability and Accessibility Report and recommendations from the city plan in 2020. Another one was the delayed passage of the driving equality ordinance, which would address discriminatory traffic enforcement practices. City Council did pass a resolution of such, but Eastern Michigan University, they are only sworn under oath to protect the ordinances, not resolutions. The next one is a failure to advance a resolution in support of drug checking services and other harm reduction efforts. We as a commission did put forth a letter of support for that resolution. However, council did not vote on that, or did and didn't vote on it in approval. The next one is talking about in October 2024 resolution that was brought forth, introducing and referring to people with disabilities and as unhoused individuals as a subsection of the population, which is contrary to the principles of equity and inclusion. And then the other one, which is not, this is a non-exhaustive list, is the refusal to allocate over $2.4 million from the public safety mental health reimbursement millage funds towards actual mental health and social services, despite the ordinance's recognition that systemic discrimination affects access to resources. The next paragraph kind of goes into section 58-70 says that no governmental body can adopt, enforce, or allow policies that result in discriminatory effects, especially those or including those that create unequal opportunities for marginalized groups in housing, employment, or public accommodations. The next paragraph goes over section 58-35 that says the City of Human Relations Commission is tasked with recommending policies that prevent and rectify patterns of discrimination, including those perpetuated by inaction. And the next one goes about saying inaction by the city council on these critical matters constitute de facto discrimination by failing to remedy systemic inequities and by disproportionately harming vulnerable communities in Ypsilanti. And so we are asking now, therefore, be resolved that the City Council of Ypsilanti recognizes its failure to act on these matters as a form of institutional discrimination. And we ask in the next paragraph that they commit to immediate and measurable actions, including passing a driving equality ordinance, introducing and passing a resolution supporting drug checking services and other harm reduction efforts, removing language that dehumanizes people with disabilities and unhoused individuals from all city documents and resolutions, commit to, having funds from the mental health and public safety millage to actual mental health and social service aspects as a part of an equitable approach to public safety. And we're asking that city council consider a request to amend sections 58-76 and section 58-77 of the Ypsi City Code of Ordinances to hold public officials, city staff, and commission members accountable for discriminatory actions and to remove existing protections that shield them from personal liability in cases of discrimination. So that's that in a nutshell. Is there any amendments, word changes that people see that could be defined or picked out more before we vote on this?
I think that not just the title, but maybe this is a suggestion, but throughout the resolution where it says like inaction, I think it should be replaced with negligence, because negligence is more of a legal concept, given that the city, or like the government, in this case, the city has a duty of care to provide these services, given it's like outlined in the charter that its mission is to prevent discrimination, and it has, through negligence, failed to deliver on that promise. So I would change like just inaction to negligence.
Okay. Deputy Clerk, sorry.
I think you missed the motion for the resolution at all, or the amendment, because I got that you want to discuss it, but not for actually the motion for the.
We haven't made a motion yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I thought she was starting to tell you.
She was thinking of what she what she
Just
would,
like
yeah.
openly, and if people don't have, don't think that would work or whatever, feel free to.
Anyone have a thought on that? It makes sense.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the word inaction. I like the word negligence. I want the word inaction was from the actual code. So is it possible that we can maybe put both? Only because
Yeah. If I didn't know that, so if it makes sense to keep it in inaction in some places, that's where, to me, just personally, I feel like negligence is a more is less passive. But if it was from like in places, if it's from the code, then I would, that makes sense to keep it.
I think it. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I think it makes sense to have both because I understand where you're coming from, and also knowing that when we don't include words sometimes from the actual code,
Problem.
that it can become a
Okay.
problem or out of scope question. And so having some words that are relative to our code helps, and having other words that more accurately depict something makes a lot of sense too. And I know that we have to bring this forward as amended to the next meeting to write it and to vote on it as amended then and not now. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, maybe we can just wait because inaction for me is okay at this moment. So I'd like to kind of look into it and kind of think about how that comes across and then what that really is saying with what it is that's on there. So what we have and that's what was used, I would like to keep the same word.
Okay. Commissioner House.
I can see where both can be utilized. So like, whereas perpetuated by inaction and negligence or causing negligence. That's the second one. You can add that to actually just about everything there.
Yeah, like instead of only saying inaction, it could say and or negligence next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking to Justin's point, now that I know that it was like in the code, I also want to review that before I like make a motion.
Okay. So, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry, I can't see Commissioner Monroe.
Oh, no.
Okay, sorry. All right, so it seems like we're kind of in agreement to some degree to pause and to do more research on the word inaction versus negligence. So then that way we will need a motion to table this resolution to the next meeting, which I believe, I don't have that to memorize at the top of my head, the third Thursday of the month. So with that being said, is there anyone who would like to make a motion to table this resolution?
Make a motion to table the resolution.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Chair Harper to table the resolution in action of discriminatory to the next meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Monroe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we shall move on to new business. All right. This next item was brought forth by Commissioner Calfain, and so I will go ahead and turn the mic over.
Yeah, so this is a pressing issue in our community, with rising costs of living and housing. There's been, de facto discrimination against people who are not of a certain tax bracket, because of the rising cost of housing in particular. And it's, visually very clear. There's more people on the street. There's more people in the shelters, more people in the daytime warming shelter at the Fright House. And so, given that our mission is to, address and investigate discrimination and unfair treatment, I think that this is something we need to have a dialogue about with the public, to investigate to see how we can, make advice or advise city council to address this very pressing issue, um, in which it's, been brought up in some of the motions that or the resolutions that have been brought up. I think obviously there's more that we can do. There's probably a lot that we are missing because we don't have this interface with the public. Um, obviously I just got here, so if instances of something like this happening before, or like, what do people think that something like this could look like? Just generally kind of meeting with the public to talk about this, to hear from them.
I love that. I think it's important to be able to hear what people have to say and what's on their mind for this topic. I mean, that's what we're here for. So I love the idea.
Same. Before I say anything, would someone like to say anything else about this? Okay. I feel the same way, and we attempted to have a public safety and mental health and community forum series last year, realizing that it probably saves a lot of time to not attempt to do town hall with another commission. And that kind of presented some issues around scope again, because our commissions have different scopes. And so it does make sense to me to have a specific only HRC town hall. And I appreciate the note from the clerk's office around like what section this applies to study problems in the city relating to prejudice and discrimination, and to make recommendations for the elimination of prejudice and discrimination. I think to that degree, having a town hall around housing equity and the rising cost of housing and affordability makes sense, to be able to solicit the opinion of the community and what some solutions could be. However, we have never successfully been able to host a town hall, so I'm never been able to do it. So I'm curious, how do commissions go from idea to actual implementation of a town hall typically? Is that something that we have to ask council to approve? Can we just host it now that if we vote on it?
Oh, I remember before when we wanted to do the town hall, they said as long as it falls within our scope.
We actually take.
Again, it's privileged.
Okay. This is marked as privileged, even though it doesn't have that on the top like the other ones did. What about the other agenda packets that are on the website that you've included legal memos on? Do we have to go back through and remove those?
Ones that the new city attorney has provided, he gives us realizing that they're going to be given to the public, and he has removed it from the top.
Okay. Oh, this is a a memo from the former city attorney back in the day of September last year. So this isn't a current memo. Okay.
That was about what you were speaking about, what you went to try to do with the YPAC,
Mhm.
so that you guys can know what was already kind of happening. You're speaking about the scope and everything.
Yeah, I remember us having issues with this memo because I think Mr. Barr was maybe misinformed that we were trying to have a public health forum. I think the word health somehow got confused whenever we said community wellness or community forum series. I'm not sure, but the word health was assumed. And that's why he did say it was out of scope for us. So I think we should have no issue having one focused on housing equity and rising unaffordability, since that has the word health not mentioned at all. And it's very much within our scope.
Yeah, no, I remember there was some semantics that were a little bit confused within that. So, yeah, if I mean it's a while ago, but if we have the correct verbiage, we should be able to do it. I mean, just be that simple.
So I think, again, leaning on some support from our staff liaison or council liaison here, we are all interested. We haven't voted yet, but it's seemingly we're interested. How do we pick a day? How do we get the day established? How do we let people know of that day? And how do we know if it was out of scope all of a sudden? Like, once we approve it here, will we get told if it's not in scope or out of scope, or will we just be good to go from here?
Well, what I would say is, it says at the bottom here in the notes that this is the ordinance that it falls under, correct? So it seems like it would be within the scope, if that is what this note is saying. And just like before, you all would pick the date and the place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay. So this item that you brought forward, Commissioner Calfain, I want to also add that that same section, 58-35, number 7, says to conduct public forums, town hall meetings, educational and other programs to promote the equal rights and opportunities of all persons. So that is also a general purpose and function in addition to the one they wrote here, which is to study problems, which go hand in hand because we will be studying the problems at a town hall. Oh,
I'm looking at it and it says representing various economic, educational, social groups. So if the issue is that this doesn't say like, I don't know, income or whatever, it does say it here. It says that certain economic groups, and we know that certain economic groups are being discriminated against because they have no access to housing that they qualify for. So it is well within our scope to have this. And it also says source of income, which is obviously an issue when it comes to getting like a rental and things like that. So yeah, I guess, does a town hall, I guess is an open question, qualify as like a special session? In that sense that we have to like schedule it as a special session of the HRC, and then it's an event that we can invite the public to.
So again, before we just chose the date, the only thing that I remember is that it falls within the scope.
mm-hmm.
And no,
Yeah. And so that we find ourselves here again where we're going to approve this, and then how do we know for sure that we're good to go to then pick a date or two to finalize it?
So if you all were interested in picking a date and finalizing it, I can reach out to the city manager. Well, tomorrow is Good Friday, but I will reach out and expect the answer by next week.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Gonna still need the actual, because what happened before, I think it was too vague, and that's what he, I think, was saying in one of them, or some other opinions, that you say exactly what the forum is, or the town hall, what it's gonna be, so that he knows to be able to give you an answer. It's not like, oh, not that, but this, or, but like, this is what we'd like to do it, this is the day we'd like to do it, can we do it?
Okay.
And maybe that would solve some time things before the next meeting.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I can't remember. Can we just sit down with them? Because I think sometimes just having like a face to face about, hey, this is what we're expecting, this is what we want to do. How do we go ahead and get the correct verbiage to do what it is that we need to do?
Yeah.
Talk about with the city attorney.
Yeah.
Mhm. I also know that maybe we can all, we're discussing, right? The item was to discuss having a town hall, and it seems like we're all interested. I don't know if all of us have dates in mind in this exact moment, but maybe we will have some dates in mind at the May meeting that we can come forward with and be able to vote on one. And in this meeting right now, what we can vote on is a town hall on XYZ, get the verbiage right to be able to have the attorney let us know if we can go ahead and get forward on that. So then at the May meeting, we can discuss dates. Does that sound like a decent plan of action? Or possible plan of action?
I think that's from what Lori said, that's the way we have to go. We need the verbiage, but she gave the verbiage.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just wondering if it's gonna be about, if we just say housing inequities, is it because that's not in this statement that the previous attorney provided? Because it's like, I wasn't here for this, obviously, but it says community wellness series, and the reason it's not applicable is because it's not in the scope. And I'm wondering if that was because none of these demographics were mentioned. I don't know how it was proposed. So maybe that's the issue. So we could say, we want to have a town hall around housing inequities related to, yeah, discrimination of people on their race, color, uh, income status, disability status.
Okay. Commissioner House seemed to be in alignment with that. Any
Well, I
other?
was just taking off what Bar said and
Mm-hmm.
just using his word.
Right. Right. Yeah, because he said the issues addressed by the community wellness, community parentheses, health, close parentheses, are different than the mission and issues. Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Just can't do that. We used to be able to do that. We can't do that anymore. Cannot read that. Thank
the
you.
one who read it.
I did. You're right. I'm gonna take back what I said. Because we cannot do that. One of them was marked. Okay, this one is as well. So the reason why we couldn't have it was because it was perceived to be out of scope because of the word health. So what I'm hearing is framing it as housing as a human right, access, equity, and discrimination in our housing system. Does that seem to fit?
I would say like discrimination based off of, you know, the things like in the description of the HRC. So source of income, race,
Mm.
color, disability.
All of our verbiage.
So maybe instead of listing all of them, discrimination based on listed protected
Sure.
classes.
Yes. yeah.
Okay. So, housing as a human right, discrimination, town hall, discussing discrimination based on listed protected classes in the city of Ypsilanti regarding housing, or is that kind of covered in housing as a human right?
Do we need to say for the purposes of taking the information back? Because
Like, why
they
are we
said
doing
we,
it?
yeah. 'cause
Yes.
they
Okay.
can't these things.
Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure, because I know deputy clerk usually, or someone usually will follow up with the legal counsel on this. Would it be helpful if we were to try to vote on the language here formally? Obviously, we need to do that, but we're kind of getting a couple of words. So I want to synthesize it and then maybe vote on it. So for the purposes of studying housing inequity in the city of Ypsilanti, I'm gonna write this down.
You asked a question and then you answer in your own way.
Yes, a little bit. Um, so for the purposes of studying discrimination based on the listed protected classes,
To aid in informing the HRC um, on its advising to city council. And then maybe like the creation of resolutions.
okay. So for the purposes of studying housing discrimination based on protected classes to aid in informing the HRC on its advising to city council for future resolutions or action. Okay, do I have a motion to approve that request of permissibility for that as a town hall to the city attorney?
A motion to approve.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Harper. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner House. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And because we do require voice call vote where everyone has to vote, I just want to make sure I'm capturing everyone saying aye or nay, because you have to say one or the other. So all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, okay. Any opposed? All right, thank you. That passed. So we will be requesting a memo from the attorney around whether or not that is within our scope, and we will all also come back in May with some dates. Do you have something to say?
I'll use the restroom.
Okay, we have a few minutes. Do we want to take like a quick recess, or you just want to go to the restroom right now?
You are still good. Yeah, I go right now.
Okay. Are we okay to carry on?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna move on now to the next item, which is discussion on subcommittee formation and scheduling of initial public forums to confirm logistics for each public forum proposed.
Is this,
And this is about the subcommittees. So this is always really confusing because the planning commission was allowed to have a subcommittee. They had a housing affordability and accessibility subcommittee. And so we created a subcommittee. Thank you for providing this. The list of the different subcommittees. So we all voted on these back last year. And we were really excited at the idea of having participants and residents engage in civic engagement through, the use of these subcommittees. We also know that we as commissioners cannot appoint people at all. That is not a power that we possess. Only council members have the ability to appoint individuals to any boards and commissions. And so to think creatively about this, instead we were suggested that we could have all of these will have to be public and abide by OMA just because of our rules. But what we could do is have these meetings public like we're doing now and be able to have the public be able to engage with us and these subcommittees and solicit their input. And I know that in our bylaws, we have the ability to make up rules and regulations. So it is maybe possible that the rules and regulations of the subcommittee could allow more discussion flow versus like 3-minute public comment only. That way people can be more engaged in a subcommittee. However, people on the subcommittee cannot make decisions. They would have to bring forward what was discussed to the rest of the commission for us to vote on anything. So that's kind of like the logic of all of that. So the idea behind this was to think about ways that we can get some dates scheduled for these subcommittee meetings.
Also, that it can't be a quorum, so it has to be 3 members or less.
Okay,
Because once it's a
Makes sense.
quorum, it's a meeting.
perfect. Okay. Well, I think given that information, and I already have past info to lean on and rely on of who was interested in what subcommittee, I would be more than happy to just communicate directly with those individuals around some potential options of what we could do for dates to then be able to come back to the larger commission about it. The only person who's new who hadn't said what they were interested in is Commissioner Calfane, which I would be curious to know what commission subcommittee you would be interested in. But before you say something, Deputy Clerk, you look like you have to say something.
I just want to let you know from the minutes that you guys had already voted on who would head each one.
Yes.
And for 2 and 3, they're no longer here.
Aha, but we have other folks that are still here that are interested. So I can,
Just telling you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. We have had a commission change since then. But there are still some folks who are interested that are here that we maybe can solicit if they would like to take a lead on that. So I think we can move forward from this agenda item and we can communicate offline since it's less than quorum. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good to me.
I'm sorry, I did have a question. So, there was an issue of just like scheduling it, and then maybe I just missed this, but was there a problem that was brought up like by the city attorney or, city staff about the commissions themselves? Like that they were out of scope?
The subcommittees?
Yeah, the subcommittees?
No.
No, okay, never mind.
Yeah, I think we got a green light on the subcommittees. It was more of like who can attend, who can participate, who can stay their subcommittee member, et cetera. Anything else? All right. With 18 minutes left of this meeting, we will go ahead and move into the second public comment, which I guess we actually won't do because we didn't have any 45 minutes used of the first public comment, which is the new rule from City Council. So we will bypass that. Next is proposed business for next meeting. I know that we have the resolution for the public safety mental health millage with language changes will be on that meeting. Also, I know that we will be discussing, the inaction is discriminatory resolution as well. Again, after folks do more research on what the different words are and could mean. We also have the memo, hopefully, from the city attorney regarding the town hall on housing discrimination. And then also, hopefully, some more information about subcommittees. But that's it so far. Is there anything at top of mind based on today's meeting that folks would like to ensure is added to next meeting's agenda? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and conclude that. And now we will move into commissioner comments. I will go ahead and just start on my left here. Vice Chair Harper.
I don't really have much to say. I'm just happy that we were able to go ahead and touch base on some topics that we're going to go over next week. I think those are important topics. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll skip me for now. Commissioner House.
Have nothing.
All right, Commissioner Cupping.
Just happy to be here. Thank you everybody for being welcoming and getting everything going through the agenda, and I'm excited for the next meeting.
Welcome. Commissioner Monroe. And then Council Member Liaison, any comment?
The only comment I have is I'm excited that we got through the entire meeting, old business and new.
With no meeting extension time. Yes, all right, that is a win. My only comment, and I will keep it short to not go over that time limit, just kidding, is I am also appreciative of today's meeting, and I also, I appreciate that people are dedicated and committed to ensuring that the mission of the commission stays intact and that we move forward with integrity in mind and knowing and trusting that diversity of tactics is okay and diversity of opinions of how to get to a certain equity issue is always welcome. And so just to be mindful of how we can continue to support the mission of the commission. And that is my only comment. And so now we can move into adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
I have one motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:45 PM. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Calfain. All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone said aye? All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, the meeting has now been adjourned at 7:46 PM. Thank you.